A truly transcendent spectacle grips the heart of Europe during the 2026 World Figure Skating Championships, unfolding beautifully across Prague's legendary historical landscape. Shadows swallow the stadium while that endless frozen sheet suddenly awakens, becoming an immaculate, radiant tapestry. Absolute, suffocating quiet descends upon the massive crowds tightly squeezed throughout the sprawling venue. Such breathless stillness stems far beyond basic courtesy. It breathes entirely from profound, borderline sacred expectation. Every single soul present, spanning veteran officials positioned right beside the boards to ordinary enthusiasts perched near the ceiling, understands precisely what magic approaches. The crowd realizes that hearing Ilia Malinin echoed across those booming stadium loudspeakers means everything. Every single established limitation concerning mortal capability upon solid ice will soon shatter into gorgeous, radical new paradigms. Global fans dub him the Quad God, a legendary title he proudly wears while continuously demonstrating its absolute, undeniable truth through his staggering athletic feats. Yet this evening inside the Czech Republic, his identity transcends mere aerial acrobatics. An expressive creator emerges. A fierce warrior and visionary steps forward onto the rink, determined to etch an immortal saga deep into skating lore. Frigid indoor winds nip fiercely against exposed cheeks, though the surrounding aura practically bubbles with raw, high-voltage energy. Thousands of lungs suspend their rhythm simultaneously, while the skater sails smoothly onto the frozen stage. Draped in bold, natural woodland shades, he stalks forward, possessing the silent, lethal assurance of an invincible conqueror fully recognizing his own supreme value. Enchanting mixtures of dark chocolate fabrics and sparkling metallic golden highlights reflect the brilliant spotlights during each subtle gesture. He resembles a contemporary combatant fully prepared to wage absolute war against the fundamental laws of gravity. Zero doubt clouds his gaze. Instead, an intense, searing concentration slices directly through the chilly atmosphere. Assuming his initial stance, his ribcage expands and contracts following a perfectly calculated, steady tempo. This youthful American prodigy has long borne the crushing pressure of a global athletic community's wildest dreams atop his back. However, during this solitary fraction of time preceding the soundtrack's initiation, profound serenity completely washes over him. When the initial chillingly gorgeous melodies of the routine reverberate around the massive dome, the champion suddenly springs alive. Tranquility fractures instantly as dynamic movement begins. An unstoppable elemental storm sweeps across the rink, featuring opening glides that remain buttery, profound, and intensely muscular. Such misleading tranquility acts as mere prologue to the impending hurricane of mind-bending mechanical brilliance ahead. The aggressive noise of tempered steel slicing deep into solid frost. That distinct pulsating scraping the very lifeblood of this icy discipline echoes loudly across the hush, grounding onlookers within the tangible physics of his newly ignited, breathtaking velocity. Then, reality breaks. His preparation flashes by quicker than a lightning strike. Intricate transitional steps form a dizzying smear, guiding him toward the stadium's edge. Thousands simultaneously suck in oxygen right as the athlete catapults toward the rafters. Calling it a mere leap insults the feat. It actively mocks scientific law. He attains an elevation so tremendous it leaves minds absolutely reeling. Thrusting his form skyward utilizes a violent, percussive strength entirely unmatched by his visually lean, graceful physique. Within a singular microsecond, his silhouette transforms into a densely coiled vortex, whipping around at speeds practically invisible to ordinary optical perception. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those revolutions melt into a chaotic, mesmerizing exhibition of flawless physical supremacy. Unfurling from the twist, his metal edge reconnects with the frozen floor, displaying buttery, frictionless elegance. Touching down upon an incredibly sharp, continuous outward curve. The trailing limb stretches backward flawlessly, while his torso remains as fiercely dignified and majestic as a monarch observing his conquered empire. Zero wobbles appear, nor any desperate struggle to remain upright, only absolute, unfiltered dominance reigns supreme. Spectators instantly detonate into chaotic cheering, generating a deafening avalanche of applause, threatening to crumble the venue's concrete pillars. Yet the skater's mind drifts continents away, utterly consumed by rhythmic dance, melting flawlessly toward the subsequent chapter of his theatrical routine. Sweeping limbs carve through space, illustrating unseen threads of pure feeling that bind his soul directly to each mesmerized observer. Yet what genuinely isolates this Prague spectacle from past historical routines? The catalyst, Propelling this beyond a simple sporting showcase into mythical territory involves much more than precisely landing 4 revolution leaps. Rather, an instance of absolute, fearless rebellion. Strikes right at the midpoint, delivering an unforgettable sequence destined to be watched countless millions of times across the globe. The maestro summons a frightening level of momentum, rocketing straight across the central divide utilizing a violently abrupt surge of pure adrenaline. Flinging his shoulders aggressively rearward, his blades sever their frozen tether to unleash a colossal, lung-emptying backward somersault. Such a maneuver screams of lethal risk paired with unrivaled theatrical flair. Chronology essentially pauses while his entire frame inverts completely. Earthy chocolate and metallic yellow hues explode vibrantly in stark contrast against the blinding snowy canvas beneath. During one terrifying microsecond, his skull hovers only inches above the brutally rigid, merciless ground. With steel runners aimed straight toward the glaring ceiling fixtures, a profound concoction of chest-gripping dread and intoxicating euphoria perfectly intertwines. Finally, just as rapidly as he vanished into the air, his blades strike solid ground once again. His steel blades kiss the ice with terrifying authority, carrying his momentum forward seamlessly, as though he had simply hopped off a sidewalk rather than conquered a death-defying aerial marvel. Erupting in the stands, the audience unleashed an ear-shattering howl, a raw, primal shockwave of absolute disbelief. The athlete delivered far beyond a leap. He forged a legendary statement. The skater broadcasted an undeniable message. This frozen arena was his kingdom, and he intended to mesmerize the spectators just as fiercely as he intended to conquer the podium. As his performance surged onward, rational logic dictated that the punishing exhaustion of this grueling choreography ought to reveal itself. Yet Ilia appeared driven by some otherworldly power. His stamina remained infinite, his velocity never faltered, and his theatrical intensity only multiplied with each ticking second. He shifted seamlessly into his footwork section, unleashing a brilliantly complex, mind-bending labyrinth of sharp edges and blinding rotations that consumed every single inch of the frozen stage. Matching the theatrical crescendos of the melody, his torso bent and arched flawlessly, while his face broadcasted the raw, sweeping emotional voyage of the soundtrack. The man on the ice transcended the simple role of an athlete. He transformed into a master bard, wielding his flesh and steel to paint an epic saga of agony, endurance, and supreme conquest. His glides sliced impossibly deep, his pivots snapped with terrifying sharpness. Furthermore, his gravitational pull on the thousands watching proved entirely inescapable. Dragging the spectators into his orbit, he commanded their absolute focus, repaying them with a theatrical and athletic spectacle wholly unrivaled in today's competitive landscape. Nearing the explosive climax of his routine, the skater hurled himself into a final breathtaking sequence of rotations. He twirled at a dizzying hypersonic velocity, anchoring his posture with absolutely immaculate precision. Shifting from a profoundly deep crouch, he extended into a breathtakingly elegant camel hold spine. Curved gracefully, limbs stretched horizontally above the frost. At last, he snapped into a viciously compact, lightning-fast upright spiral, whipping into an indistinguishable storm of bronze and gold before striking a fiercely theatrical, commanding concluding stance. Striking the halt in absolute flawless synchronization with the soundtrack's final booming echo. Freezing there for a heartbeat, his lungs gasped for air and perspiration drenched his skin, while a savage, unbreakable arrogance radiated out from his eyes. Suddenly, the emotional floodgates shattered. He violently thrust his hand into the air, unleashing a ferocious battle roar that was immediately swallowed by the venue's ear-splitting chaos. Thousands of spectators leaped instantly from their seats, bombarding the rink with thunderous roars, claps, and plush toys during an unforgettable tribute. The young champion fully comprehended his own magnitude. He realized he had just birthed a legend. While bending in gratitude toward every corner of the screaming stadium, gulping down oxygen and absorbing the worship, the camera pivoted to the scoring booth, where he settled beside his mentors. A suffocating anxiety thickened the air, regardless of the undeniably stellar showcase. The judging committee had mercilessly dissected every single mid-air twist, every blade tilt, every launch, and every touchdown. The brutal, agonizing delay served as proof of the mind-boggling difficulty the officials had just evaluated. At long last, the stadium speaker shattered the remaining applause, and the final digits erupted across the gigantic monitors suspended high above. 111.29. A gasp paralyzed the crowd, quickly detonating into an earth-shattering roar. 111.29. a terrifyingly monumental score, a metric mathematically cementing his supreme reign. Dissecting that colossal tally revealed the true depths of his breathtaking prodigy. The panel gifted him a jaw-dropping 65.05 for his sheer athletic execution. This staggering sum mirrored the insane starting difficulty of his 4 revolution leaps and the immaculate bonus points awarded universally. Every leap, twirl, and footwork pattern achieved absolute perfection. Yet, in a far more significant victory, he claimed an awe-inspiring 46.24 for his artistic presentation, brutally shutting the mouths of skeptics who labeled him a mere jumping machine. The panel fully validated his poetic grace, his musical soul, his supreme edge control, and his stunningly crafted choreography. Glancing at the current rankings, the terrifying scale of the skater's triumph became blindingly clear. He dominated the summit with an insurmountable advantage. Trailing in the runner-up slot sat the fiercely gifted French competitor, Adam Xiao Him Fa, who delivered a deeply moving, spectacular routine, securing a highly honorable 101.85. The Frenchman's display proved absolutely spellbinding, overflowing with raw fire and his distinct flavor of poetry. However, even this formidable rival drifted almost 10 marks behind the untouchable American phenom. Scanning further down the roster, Estonia's Alexander Selevko claimed bronze holding 96.49, while Canada's Steven Gogolev anchored fourth holding 94.38. These elite contenders were phenomenally talented and relentlessly driven, yet on this particular afternoon, they found themselves battling in an entirely inferior galaxy. Ilia Malinin had not merely conquered the opening event, he had violently rewritten the very laws of competitive figure skating. The phenom proved that human anatomy, when driven by an invincible spirit and steered by otherworldly genius, could execute miracles previously confined entirely to the pages of wild mythology. Raising his hand in a final victorious salute to the screaming masses, with his title burning fiercely across the summit of those standings, the world stands paralyzed in awe of this impossible spectacle. History shall immortalize Prague's 2026 global tournament as that breathtaking instant when Ilia Malinin, the undisputed jumping deity, reached upward, pulling cosmic brilliance down onto the rink.